Welcome to the Hospitalist Training video series. This next video we will discuss the patient list. Fortunately for the hospitalist program, this is a lot simpler than perhaps for other physicians who are trying to create their list from the ground up. Once again, I'm in a pre-production version of Cerner, so we won't have any patient information available. And I'll go up here to patient list, and this may look a tad different for your version. In fact, I'll go to the production version. It will typically look like this. We have Message Center up here under the menu bar, and then the patient list. But in the build, it's coming across a little different, but it's still the same functionality. So I'll click on Patient List. When you're first signing on to PowerChart as a new hospitalist, you won't have any lists available, which seems odd, but Cerner's designed for the user to create his or her own list. But at least this process is fairly simple for the hospitalist, because all you have to do is click on this wrench icon. And I've got a lot of lists here that I've built, but let's act like there's nothing here. You should probably only see one list, and that will be it'll have your name on it, like your last name, and in parentheses it will have M. Fowler or one of the nurse managers that's in the hospitalist office. It should be more than likely be Missy, but perhaps it could be someone else in the office. And that simply means they have proxied that list to you. So you'll see your last name, see the proxy, the person who proxied the list to you. You'll click this arrow here to bring the list over. Then you'll say OK. Then you'll have a list. Now you may not like the order of the list or what's available, so let me introduce you to another icon that's available. Of course, here I have no one on this list, so that's. But perhaps I can find another list here, which will. I'll just show you my own personal list, so we can at least have some names on here. So you see all of these headers here. This is not what you'll see at default. So familiarize yourself with the Customize Columns icon. Click this. Then you can pull over anything from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. Though a very useful column will be the room number, which then you'll click here to bring it over. But as you see, I already have it here. I also brought over attending physician, consulting physician, and then you can sort these any which way you like. Once you're done, you can save and then exit, but also you can sort. Notice this lock button means I'm sorting by the room number. So I'll go up here to this A to Z. I'll say click Use Custom Sort. I picked room number, and I can even pick the order, whether it's top down or bottom up. And once I've done that, I save it, I exit, and it will appear like this. But remember, all this is customizable. Another useful list to have is an All St. Dominic's list. Let me explain. You can search for a patient by doing last name, first name. So John Smith. You can do that. You can also do the last three letters, the first three letters of the last name, comma, first three letters of the first name, and do it that way. But whenever you're searching for a patient, you'll find that the encounters that occur, the top encounter will always be the pre-reg encounter. That's basically something that's been scheduled for the future. So for this particular patient, Andy Test, this patient's had surgery scheduled for here and another orthopedic surgery scheduled here, and those will always climb to the top of the list. So if I accidentally double click on Andy Test, it will always default to this top encounter, which is a pre-registration encounter, rather than the actual encounter I'm looking for. So that can be problematic when you're searching for a patient. If you're careless and you double click on the patient's name without making sure you click the right encounter number, then you can actually be documenting on the wrong encounter. So it's easier to have an all St. Dominic location list and find that patient on that list rather than just going up here and randomly finding the patient. So I will create that list by clicking this wrench. I'll say new. I'll make this a location list. I'll click here on locations. Click here on St. Dominic's Health Services. Put a check in St. Dominic Hospital. I could, if I wanted to, I can click here and actually go and pick individual locations, but I just picked all St. Dominic. Now, encounter types, there's a reason I'm going to pick the ones I'm going to pick, but BHS is Behavioral Health, North Campus. Day surgery is anybody who comes in for surgery and is expected to be discharged same day, but you may get a consult on them. DPU is Distinct Part Unit, which is basically a financial name for what should be called the Jerry Psych Unit, but that's a long history on that one. The emergency room. Hospice is for your hospice ministries patient that end up being placed on passages, so they're still in the hospital. You still need to follow them until they expire. Inpatient, observation, outpatient in a bed. Those are all the encounters you want. And then finally, discharge criteria. You need to say only display patients that have not been discharged. So now I can say finish, and I've already got a list by that name, so that's why it's not giving me that list. But that's a very useful list to have, a location list. And then finally, it's good to have a discharge list, and I'll just bring this list over and show you that rather than build one from the ground up. This icon will let you adjust your settings, and you'll notice that a difference here is that on my discharge criteria, instead of saying only display patients that have not been discharged, I actually said display patients that have been discharged within the last. I selected 28 and I clicked days, but that lets me see patients who have been discharged from the hospital. I may want to follow up on results or just see what happened to them. That's a nice way to track them. So that concludes our video on the patient list.